There could be a point in 2 years where we bring in something drastic and we just ruin footy for a couple of years and we're going to take it out again.
I know Whitey wasn't overly wrapped with the Thursday night footy, but I think it's the best time slot in footy.
The beauty about our club is we rock up to training every day, and training's so fun. Everyone wants to train.
The overwhelming feeling is unsatisfaction, and purely because we were so close to winning the whole thing.
There's an opposition coach who presents every single week, but in the end we play our brand of football the same. So I think they're just finding work for someone.
Your ticket into the heart of football. Welcome to the Breakfast Club's Inner Sanctum.
Always a good part of the week is Inner Sanctum, and today we get into the Inner Sanctum of the Carlton Football Club co-captain Sam Docherty joins us in 2019 again. Good morning to you, Doc.
Morning, Half. Morning, gents.
Morning.
Game day.
Yes. Different route for game day for me. I'm in the studio, which I've never done before.
Yes, that's true. Well, what would be the issue if you were playing tonight? Now, unfortunately, you're not, which we'll get to shortly, but if you were playing, would you be adverse to doing something like this on game day? Because that seems to be a barrier for a lot of players and clubs to let players and participants do this sort of stuff on game day.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't do it. More from the fact of I just like to have my preparation very consistent, and I don't think you go on media every week, so that sort of changes it up week to week. Most players today is just all about how they can get prepared for 7:20. I think 7:20 tonight. So. Yep. I wouldn't comfortably do it, but it's something that might get brought into the AFL, so players might have to change.
Ramo, is that what the broadcasters are pushing for, this sort of stuff on game day, to have access to players?
Yeah, no doubt about that. Yeah, the more they can get, the better. They want complete open access. So in the rooms, whenever they want, in the car park, when they're walking in, even out in the ground. I think, interviewing between quarters, they want as much access back into the lounge room of the viewers as possible.
What about major rights holders in a radio industry, where they would want access to players for their breakfast show or their drive show or lunchtime show or whatever it might be?
Yep. And I think there's a fair swell now. I'm interested in Doc's opinion here also, that the players are quite comfortable in doing that. I think it's a new generation of player now where, some guys, when we played half, wanted to lock themselves away for days before the game and not talk to anybody. But I think now you guys are a lot more open to that because of particularly the amount of social media stuff that the club get you to do on their own website and social channels.
Yeah, and I think that's a growing landscape. I think over the last sort of 5 years that the media has really stepped up in terms of the content, and they do some brilliant stuff with players. From a performance, the only thing that usually gets in the way is performance. So if it's going to affect my performance or the team performance, then that's usually the no-go zone at the moment. But as you said, the media is pushing for more outlets and more access to players, and that'll be a road that we're going to have to cross when it happens and if it happens. But I definitely think players in itself are more comfortable in the media. I think there's more training done at football clubs to be able to make sure that you are comfortable and competent in the media. So it's one of the biggest parts in footy. It's what essentially gives us all our wages. So other than the product itself, the media is the second to that. So we sort of have to grow with it, otherwise we'll get left behind.
I reckon it'll flick back a bit because I think we've seen in the last couple of years that, interviewing players after the toss and all this sort of stuff in football as they're going out, I mean, it doesn't add anything. I think it's good to try it, but I don't think there's been quite a few things that have been done in the last couple of years that it's almost just getting in the way.
Well, that comes back to the performance element as well. I'm not massive on the stuff right before you're about to go out and play, because that's a very sacred time that you basically prepare for this game on the weekend. And if we start edging into warm-ups and pre-game, like literally just before the game, that can affect people's mindset and mind. If you're talking about football these days, a lot of it's in your head. There's the physical element, but being able to prepare and get ready to go at the first bounce, if we're throwing in different elements right before the game when players are trying to get ready.
Well, you're in a zone, aren't you? You actually are. It's not you being rude, but you're not getting the normal stuff you would get because your mind's somewhere else.
No, and that's part of preparing for footy is you have to prepare mentally. You've got to. Everyone says it, all players say it, that you never play a game at 100% physically, but you've got to try and get yourself to 100% mentally before the game starts, because whatever you're feeling body-wise, you've got to be able to put that aside, get ready to go, set your mindset for this first bounce. And that's the way you get consistent with your footy. If you're up and down and you're playing 20% mentally versus 100%, it's a massive difference. And I would say 5% off or on for a team can be the difference between a win or a loss.
And it's not all coaches, but a lot of coaches, if you speak to them 20 minutes before the game, they're quite relaxed because their work's done. They've prepared the players and they'll just have something to eat and pop up to the box. It obviously gets intense when the game starts, but in that 20 minutes, half an hour before the game, that's when the players have to do their thing, and that's when they go into a zone. So I don't know. It's interesting, but I just think there were things that were done last year that you go, nah, that didn't work.
They'll find the sweet spot of all that, I think.
They'll throw enough darts at the board and see
Yeah, no doubt.
I think
no doubt.
the biggest question we have to ask Sam is just the influence of Daniel Harford at Carlton.
Stop it. I'm not going
It just
down
seems
there.
to be just, I don't know, there's infectious.
No.
Depends who you ask. I think if you ask Half, he is infectious at the club.
Shut up, Doc. I was trying to be nice before to you, and I was trying to be nice all the way through. Now I'm going to butcher you at some stage. What I do want to ask, because that's a garbage question, is how are you feeling? 7:20 tonight, you mentioned before, is the bounce down of the ball, and you'd been tracking up until there was a recurrence of your injury. Beautifully. You're going beautifully. You missed last year. You got yourself in great nick, and all of a sudden it's over again. How are you feeling today of all days?
Today of all days, a mixture of very excited and also pretty flat. It's a strange mix in terms of where I'm at. From a football club point of view, and obviously being the captain, I'm super excited to see what the club is going to do. But this is my favourite game of the year, so there's an element of I'm missing it again. But that's part of the game, and something that I keep telling people when everyone comes up, and it's great. They're empathetic and they're feeling sorry for the position I'm in. But it's be able to miss this game of footy. Obviously, would have been my first game as captain, so. It's a big game. Murph's 250th. We got 6 debutants. You get to play Richmond at the G. Hopefully 95,000 people. There's an element of I wish I was there, and I'm jealous of the boys that are there. But I also sit back and think about all the work that I've done through the pre-season with this group. That I'm excited to see what they're going to produce. And we had a really good JLT series where we started to see the brand of footy that we want to play, and I'm excited to see that produced tonight.
So, Doc, what's that brand? Last year we had, I reckon, Brendan Bolton in here on the eve of the season, Whitey, and he spoke a lot about the offensive side of the game and developing that. And look, clearly it didn't work last year. What can we expect to see, particularly in the early rounds for a Carlton supporter, when they walk away from tonight's game and the game's over to next month? What are they going to go, yep, Carlton are playing like this in 2019?
Yeah, it's we did speak a lot about offense last year, and I think in the end we probably learned a lesson that we took our defensive game for granted. So we've done a lot of work on that. We want to be a high pressure team and pin the ball in the forward half. So that's what I'm hoping to see today. Get territory, stick it in there, and hope it stays in there. So it's a brand that I believe in, and we believe as a footy club that's going to be able to hold up at the hardest times of the year, and that's what we all plan for. We don't plan for quick wins. We plan to, as we've said as a footy club, to go to the top and stay up there for a long period of time. So, and we've seen over the last few years the Richmond. It's a sort of hybrid model of the Richmond Footy Club with a high pressure inside 50, repeat entries, keep the pressure on the other team. So. I think most clubs are doing that, but I think we've changed a few things in our game plan that's going to assist us. What's
your role? Because last year you virtually were an assistant coach. Are you going to do that again this year? Yep, exact same role. It's on the bench. I'm basically a line from senior coach and the assistants to the players. Obviously, we don't have a runner this year, so. A bit of a more heavy reliance on my messaging to the players so that they understand to go out and tell the other players. So it's the exact same last year. I'm in a lot of the coaches' meetings and trying to fit that around my rehab and all that and the leadership role. It's a bit of a juggling act, which the physios and the high performance staff of the club have been absolutely unbelievable for me because obviously I do run a bit of a different program to most of the guys just purely because I have to be in different meetings that a lot of them don't have to be in. But I feel like I've got a really good understanding of the program that I need to run from last year, which has helped me this year to be able to make sure I get everything that I need done,
but not jam my time up so I'm doing rehab at 6 o'clock at night.
There's been a lot of talk about the runners, and we've spent a lot of time in here the last few weeks talking about it. But do you think at Carlton your role will really benefit the team, that you've got someone that is that conduit from the coaches to the players in being able to give the message from the bench?
Yeah, definitely. I think most teams are going to have someone that's really in depth with their game plan. So because there's one thing for the coaches to figure out what they're doing and decide what way they want to go strategically, but then you need someone that's actually going to understand what they're telling you on the phone to then be able to switch that from the language that they're using to something that the players are going to understand really easily. I think most teams will try and have someone like that. The hard part about it is most teams in their coaching structure will have senior coach assistants, then they'll have development coaches, which are usually connected to their VFL. So when the VFL is playing, the VFL coaches have to be, well, the development coaches have to be at the VFL. Senior assistants are up in the box. There's not really someone in that mould at most footy clubs, and you can't really employ someone part-time, because part-time they're going to have to come in to basically every meeting so that they understand the game plan throughout the whole pre-season. So it's a unique role, which we're fortunate but unfortunate for me. I can fill that for now, but I think most clubs will try and turn a ruck coach or something like that doesn't have to be particularly up in the box with the knowledge of the game plan to come and sit down on the bench and play that role.
So I reckon you're the most qualified person to ask this about the runners, because you talk to the coaches, they say they need the runners. A lot of the players say, no, we can work it out on the field. We want to be able to play. You're right in the middle of that. What do you think the restrictions on the runner, how will it impact the game, and will it advantage some teams and not others? What's your view?
I think it's an annoying rule. I don't think it's going to change a hell of a lot if that's what the AFL were looking for. I wasn't of the opinion that teams were using runners to go and stand in zone positions and stuff like that. I think they run on the field and they obviously can't run into the play, otherwise they're going to give a free kick away, so they have to sort of sit out in the wing waiting. I thought a logical step, rather than just going goals, would just be time the runners on the field. If you're on there for, I don't know the exact amount of time, but if you're on there for 5 minutes longer, 5 minutes for the whole quarter, and you're over that, then you get fined. I just think that would have been a smarter way. So then you can get your messages out and your rotations out easily, but there's not enough time to stand in zones, and I think that's what they want to fix. That would have been a logical way for me to go, rather than the all or nothing, but I'm not sure it's going to have a great deal of difference on the game, so we'll wait and see. I'm like this with all the rules, but we saw what had happened in JLT, but it's once it gets into the real stuff, that's when we'll start to see the actual changes and whether they work, whether they don't work. So it's exciting to see. I think that they've brought in some really good rules, and I'm a very sceptical person about bringing new things into the game, so hats off to the AFL for some of the stuff they brought in.
Hey, a guy is playing his first game tonight because of your misfortune. How do you think Michael Gibbons will feel when he wakes up this morning? Because I love his story. I just think to me, these are what really good football stories are made of, and I really, really hope he does well. But just tell us what type of character he is around the club, and just how he's, I think, more fitted into the football club as well.
Yeah, Gibbo, I'm wrapped for him. I did my knee, and then he came in basically the week after, and I sent him a text and just said, if there's anything that comes out of me doing my knee, and it's the fact that you get an AFL opportunity, having watched him for 3 or 4 years miss the draft, if that would make me sleep a lot better at night. And then to see him come in, the boys absolutely love him. He's a very infectious character. He's high energy. He's hungry. Everything that you expect from someone that's been fighting and scratching at the end of his sort of VFL career. So it's I'm wrapped for him to see not only get picked up, but then to come in and have the impact he did in JLT and force his way into a round one side. As you said, it's an amazing story, not only for him, but the hope that it gives you playing VFL and biding your time and waiting for the right opportunity to come. And when he gets his opportunity, being that hungry, and that, I think that's what's made him the player that he is, and that's what's going to hold him in good stead. Is you see a lot of players come in that are highly talented and come in and they just don't have that drive or that hunger, and they find themselves out of the system really quickly. he's almost had to fight and scratch that hard that when he's got in, he's like, I'm not leaving. So and that's sort of going to hold him in good stead in terms of AFL footy, is if you can keep that hunger and drive alive, even through more years once he's sort of been in the system for a few years, that'll keep him inside, especially in the small forward role. It's a very highly valued role at the footy club, and it's a lot of hard work, but it's rewarding in terms of your teammates love you. If you play that role well, teammates absolutely love you because they know that it's a hard working role, it's a team role, and I can't wait to see what he's going to do on the big stage. To be honest, I hope he kicks an early goal. Him or Fasolo, I'd love to see the first goal because I reckon the boys would erupt.
Well, they get their chance tonight, 7:20 p.m. at the MCG. We'll talk more about it after the break. It's 7:21 in the AM at the moment. If you just joined us, Sam Docherty is the voice you're listening to, co-captain of the Carlton Football Club.
We've got 6 debutants. I think there's as many as 13 changes from our round 23 game last year. So to our recruiting team, headed by Stephen Silvani and Mick Agresta, they've done a fantastic job in securing those players. There's a lot of work into getting a draftee or recruiting someone from another club, so we're really proud of that group.
Brendan Bolton, the coach of the Blues, talking about the changes to tonight's squad and the debutants. 6 of them tonight at the MCG, 7:20 against the Tigers. For Solo, Gibbons, McGovern, Newman, Setterfield, Walsh. It is a big number, and 13 from the last time they played I don't recall that happening too many times in recent memory in football clubs, Whitey.
Yeah, it's a nice spread of players too, different players playing different positions. And I want to ask about Will Setterfield because he was the one that a lot of clubs wanted from the Giants, and I know Essendon was a club that was really into him, and he just seems like he's gone under the radar a little bit because of Sam Walsh, and everyone talks like Sam Walsh has played 250 games. But can you tell us a little bit about Will? Yeah,
he's just a no fuss, hardworking young guy. He's the thing I love about him is he loves to tackle, and there's not many players that I reckon come into the league. And I reckon one of the first conversations with him, I was talking about the midfield mix, and he said, "I don't care about being the big dog. I just want to do the hard work and the grunt work." Which, in terms of a football club, that's how you create really good midfield mixes. You can't have too many of the same. You have 3 blokes playing in the same midfield that all want to be Cripper. It doesn't really work. Yep. So I think the best thing for us with him is he's going to complement what we've got. We've got a lot of guys that are really highly skilled and quite quick and agile in terms of Dowie, Fish, Samo. And then you've obviously got Cripper, who's the big contested ball, and I think Will comes in and sort of complements that whole group. So no, I'm excited to see what he's going to do. When we picked him up, I can't tell you how many phone calls I got from people saying, "You got an absolute gem." And I had one of my ex-teammates, Dill Buckley, who's up in Sydney, was pretty flat to let him go. And I think it shows you not only the type of player, but the character that he is. And it's exciting to see what he's going to do. And you're right, Walshy's I think he's overshadowed everybody. And there's a lot of hype around him, and as there should be.
Is the hype fair?
Yeah, I'm also a little bit careful. I've seen number 1 draft picks come in and get hyped up and almost backs them into a wall that if they're not Patrick Dangerfield or Joel Selwood or someone like that, they've failed, which is rubbish. Is incorrect. I think the hype is fair in terms of the player that he's going to be, but I'm also careful that people understand that he's 18 years old, so he's going to have ups and downs, and hopefully he does, and hopefully he just smooth sailing and just plays his whole career and absolutely dominates, which some players have, but majority don't. So he's a mature kid. He's probably the most mature kid I've seen come in, and we've had Jacob Wiedering come in as well. So we've had 2 absolute rippers in terms of maturity and body of work and sort of ready-made players to play straight away. So I think he's going to impress everyone that watches him, but it's not a humble thing, or he's not going to get caught up in his own hype or anything like that. But it's just he's a young kid that he's going to have to go through some learning and some growth. But I'm not fussed in terms of he's not going to be able to do it. So definitely hype's fair.
What does Mark Murphy mean to you personally and the group?
Yeah, no, Murph's was my skipper and one of the main reasons why I came to the club in the first place. He's obviously, I don't think he gets enough credit for the actual work that he put in with Cripper and I. We're speaking of, because it's his 250th, we're speaking in the meeting the other day about his sort of legacy and his leadership that he's put through the club about growing these young guys up. And that actually includes Cripper and I. Cripper got here as an 18-year-old. Murph's his captain. I came as a 20-year-old. We've followed his lead, and he's put in so much growth and so much time and effort to make us the leaders we are today that I think that's why he was so willing to give up the captaincy in the end and hand it over, is because I think he feels that he's put enough work into us that he can see us grow. And he's been an unbelievable leader for our footy club in terms of we haven't had the best few years, and I've been at the club for a majority of that, and I can't have enough admiration for how he led through that time. The loyalty to stick around and see out this whole build, and then to give up the captaincy probably on the bit that we're just about to start going uphill was huge. And I'm rapt that he's made 250, and it's a great celebration for not only his career but his the legacy that he's going to leave at the footy club going forward.
Will it free him up? You talk about there hasn't been an overly positive time at the footy club and seeing out the rebuild. He won't have the burden of captaincy and all that comes with that, and the expectation from the playing group, let alone the media and the game itself. Will it free him up?
I'm not sure. You'd have to ask him. He's still in the leadership group, so he still has a very significant role around the club, and obviously a significant role with Crip and I. So I don't know if it'll free him up in such of his time, but definitely I feel that a lot of the media scrutiny has gone off him from giving it up. And
I reckon you're right.
And he seems like he's got a weight off his shoulder. I think he's excited to see this group go forward. He's invested in growing the guys around him in terms of the Walshes, the Fishers, Samo, the guys that are playing the same sort of role. And I think he's really invested in the footy club, and he's obviously just had a baby. So if it has freed up any time, it's more time at home with Jesse and Max. So he's an absolute star, and I'm fully expecting to come out and have an absolute unbelievable game tonight. So it's exciting times.
My word of this, 7:20 tonight. Before we let you go, how's the coach going? How's Bolts?
He's pretty
excited.
excited.
Into coach mode?
Yeah, not yet. He's been lucky this year, I reckon, with the pickup of Andrew Russell. I think the impact that he's had for Bolts, especially in terms of someone else that's really hard driving the standards, I think has been huge for him. It's allowed him to relax a bit, get closer to the players. But yeah, he'll be in full coach mode, I'd say. He probably woke up at 6 o'clock with his footy in his bed, I reckon.
Good luck to him.
We should ask about your own situation, because you came in about this time last year and you were talking about, I want to get back before the end of the year, but it was almost determined on whether the team was going well. Where are you at in your progress now compared to last year? Are you ahead of schedule? Are you behind schedule? Are you taking it slower? How's it all going now you're doing it the second time around?
No, so the first sort of 12 weeks is basically the same. I got away this year, I got away earlier this year. I got away at about the 6-week mark, which is really good for me mentally, but it's put me back into the perfect timing. Came back about 3 weeks before I ran last week, and have ran really well. So I'm about the same time as last year, same sort of program as well. I'm going to try and push back to play, but I've got a lot of hurdles to jump over between now and then. I'd say if I put myself in a position to play, I'll probably play this year, whereas last year I didn't. Probably from going and doing the other way, I didn't play. I probably could have played the last 5 games, didn't play those games, and then went and did my knee anyway. So I'm sort of I think where as a viewer, as a footy club, that if I'm right to go, we'll pull the trigger and I'll play. If I'm not, I won't play. So I think we'll have to just wait and see. I'm sure when I come back in here a couple of times, I'll have more of an answer of how I'm going in terms of ticking boxes. But the first box in running and feeling good and pulling up well from that is ticked. So a few more to go now.
Harder or easier?
Both. I think harder in a sense that it's another sort of at least half, 3/4 of a year out of the way, and having to go through that again. And the op was harder because I knew what was coming. And I think last year was the unknown of the op, the recovery this week. This time I knew the op. I knew how much pain I'd be in post-op. I knew that I wouldn't be able to move for 3 weeks and I'd be stuck in a lounge room. So that was harder, but I think having gone through it again, I've sort of perfected the program that works for me. So that's made mentally a lot easier because I've been able to free up a lot more time. I've been able to pick the things that are really important to do. I've sort of dropped back a lot of the stuff that I didn't really need to do last year, but I did because we were just working through what was the right thing. So in terms of program and sort of mental capacity spent at the club and working has been a lot better this year.
Well, I'm sure the Blues fans would love to see before the end of the year. We'll see how it unfolds through the journey, but they'll be there tonight cheering in force. Carlton Richmond, MCG, 7:20 p.m. to kick off the AFL season. Good luck on the bench, Doc.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me in.
Go get him, Sam Docherty.